Alright, so we have made a start pulling it all apart. There it is. One trailing arm off. Got some rollers for it. These ones are for sale while I wait for tyres for the Method wheels. Got the skid plates off. I have to get some much thicker ones of these. You can sort of tell they're quite thin. The old X3, the original one that I had, was like probably 3 times the thickness of that. So as they went on, they get thinner, and that just to cost savings, I guess. Here is one of the trailing arms. So I have been working on making up some templates, and then there's something like that to brace it up there. I've got some other ones, sort of design them up on Fusion, draw them up, print them out, just sort of make sure they're going to work in paper first before I get my guy Max to cut them out on the, I think it's a plasma or whatever the hell cuts these things out, but I'll go for that. Then I'll get that all back to a raw finish, cut them out, weld them on. I'll show you a bit of that after, and then paint them black. Don't like the yellow. I'm going to try and get rid of all of that. So then the next one will be the front ones, and then I will paint all these arms black. I'll probably use steel it for that as well. Paint all these black as well. Take the hub off, split all that out, and then that'll be probably the next step. So we'll keep pushing on with that. Got the arms out and these plates. These are notorious for back under there. The nuts are pretty well spot welded on there, so it doesn't take much to snap them off, and these are filled with Loctite. So S3 have got these, they go on the front arms, and these ones for the back arms, but basically these much thicker plates somehow get in behind there. So nut retainers, I don't have that problem going forward in the future. Alright, nut retainers are in there, pop rivets drill out, and these ones you've got to drill them a bit bigger to let these bolts go through. Bit of a trick though, from what I worked out there. Run that in, sort of butt them all up so that you sort of center everything, and then tighten these guys. That way your nuts won't be off center in there, and you know, if the thread's poking out that way too far, you're gonna have a prick of time getting that in. Also have the S3 pull plate, that goes on top. A couple of nut and bolt holes up there. I've got a fair bit of thickness in here, so I've just tapped some threads in there to brace it all up, and then we can get that mounted up and move on to whatever's next. Now I've painted the uprights, the upper arms are over there hanging up, drying. What I plan to work on next, because I want to get it back on the ground, get it on wheels again. I've been having a hell of a time getting this all stripped back. I'm trying everything here. Paint stripper with the powder coat sort of works. I didn't want to media blast it because I've got the bushes and joints in there. Same with the front arms. I don't want to press them out, risk damaging them. They're like a shell bush. They're real tough on these, not like the X3 where it was just 2 half bushes that split out and a sleeve through the middle. So doing my best on that. Because I want to weld to this and gusset this, I will paint that probably all in steel it, which is pretty good stuff. I'll do the cage with the same thing. Steel it's great. It's like a stainless steel, some sort of mixed coating that sprays on, and then you can still weld to it. It doesn't weld great in our X3s. It leaves like a little lava thing going around the outside, but hey, you can do it if you're in a pinch and you don't need to buff it back or anything. The cage has arrived. It's all in pieces. So Cage Tech cage. My mate Ben, Lawrence Metal Fab, he's going to help me weld that up, get it all sort of, not that I don't trust my own welding, but he's definitely better at it than me. He's actually who taught me. So and then he'll help me line it up, square it up, get it all where we need to go, make any adjustments we need to. So he'll give us a hand with that. So I will keep going on getting these strips down. My mate Max is going to cut out the braces and the gusseting. I'll bang them on. I'm unsure about the front arms. They are the updated arms on the Maverick. I was going to fully gusset them, but I do want to try and maybe leave a bit of a weak point. You know, I'd rather rip an arm in half than I would pull out one of these mounts. I mean, they're pretty beefy and that sort of thing, but that's going to be a hell of a lot harder to fix than just replacing arms. So I might leave that for the time being, but I do want to paint them black. Don't like the yellow. Gonna try and get rid of all that. Got the front end off there as well. I'll try and pull those panels off and go get them painted up, get them painted black, and then we'll keep pushing on with the next bits and get that sorted. Another thing I've got here is there's the switch blanks that come out of here. It's just a little panel there, little plastic panel. I've sandwiched that into the factory panel, taken the switch blanks out, shaved down a couple more of these. That fits in there pretty good. Like, the size is pretty mint, and then I should be able to tuck that in here and then just bang him back in. Have I got that the right way around? Yeah, of course I have, mate. there we are, clips back in, factory fit and finish, should be pretty good, nice and tidy. And then I've got the ISO happening as well. That is the cup holders in here. That whole panel just conveniently clips out. Got that going in there. Again, there was more of these switch blanks just sitting in there. They love putting those all over the place. I've got my ISO here, just found a piece of plastic there, nice and thick. Made a little template for that in there out of cardboard. He fits in there pretty good, whichever way it was. I've got my markings on there. Cut that onto there, cardboard drops in, drilled the holes now. That will go in here, and then pretty nice finish on it. The plastic, I was going to use a bit of alley, looks a little bit crude I think, and I would have to paint it and that. Lucky enough, a nice bit of textured plastic. Now, because I can reach that but people can't, if there's an accident, I think some of the other fellas in the X3s used to have them up here, you just reach over across, switch them off. That was okay, but I didn't love that I couldn't reach it that easy. So I've got one of these, which is the same thing I had in the Skyline. So I'm thinking I'll probably put it across the back there. That latches in, loops in, run the cable up that side or driver side, whichever side. And as long as I've got my little marker to show that's the battery, bang, pop that. I could even weld a tab onto the cage. Top arms painted up black. Start to get a bit of an idea there. Got a little bit distracted and knocked out a bit of the graphics kit for the 110. I'm gonna do a matching pattern print, so there's a bit of a sneak peek for the buggy graphics then, if you like, you know. But what I've been working on over here is the trailing arm bracing. We've got some big thick plates under there, more will be done there. Bracing up where the shock goes as well. The main thing for this is just strengthen it. I probably should have MIG'd it, but I've done it with TIG. It's just a lot cleaner and nicer, and I like TIGging. I prefer it over the MIG at the moment. So this one's almost done as well. I'm trying to just do a little bit at a time, not to try and heat it up too much. I don't think they'll distort because they're quite big, but if I concentrate too much heat in one spot, it might make it buckle a little bit. So we're doing bit by bit there, bit by bit there, rotating back and forth. This one, like, it's tacked up, bang it down, heat it up, bend that one in, and away we go. Do this bit, do the other bit, you know what it's like. So the arms are drying, they're all painted, coated in Steelite, braced up, ready to go. But while I've been waiting for that to dry, we're in between coats. I've had my mate Scott, we've got the ISO all wired up now, but I've got the fuse box mounted up here. So it fits under the factory panel there. Got all the other fuses and electrical stuff sort of tucked up here, so can't really see too well, but there's a bracket there that I've made. Existing bolts, holes that I've used. A couple of riv nuts under there, nice and tidy. Can get to all the pretty important stuff pretty easily and quickly if I need to. Stuff like that comes off the switch panel. Stuff like probably the fuel transfer pump, that's got to be the biggest one. If that starts to go, or a fuse or something, and it's not pumping fuel, we need to find out quickly. I'll pop that off, check that fuse first, and hopefully that's all it is, if we have that drama. But we shouldn't, so that is all coming along. I've got one other fuse box to mount, which I think is hiding here somewhere, just another little pretty simple one that will run my isolated power, basically anything that needs to come on with the isolator and not ignition, so your chase lights, and I'll do the intercom and UHF off that as well. So that's the only things that require ISO on, they all come on, and then the rest can just be with the button as a factory accessories or ignition switch. So hung some of the arms at the moment, starting to take shape, but it will take more shape once I get those trailing arms on and get them all hung. So we'll keep going on that. But yeah, just a quick look at the wiring side of things so far. They've made it pretty good. There's an accessories pole, and then there's your other post in there, which is straight to the battery, the positive. So I can pick up and choose where I want to have the positive pick up from that, and then I'll share. There's also a negative up there as well, so they can all have a common negative. So far so good. The arms are all painted now, pretty happy with how they're turning out. Have managed to pull the shocks out and get myself some Eibach coils. I believe stage 3, which should be right for all the weight. I'm going off a bit of recommendation there, and from what I've found out, that looks good. Got the first one pulled apart here, Just going over the measurements for the crossover rings and all that sort of stuff. So working on that, and I was tossing up whether I paint these black as well, but I don't know, it might not hold up too well, especially a core, a lot of movement, and it's getting to be a lot of black. I didn't want to black the whole thing out, I just wanted to get rid of the yellow, so I'll probably go with that. And because I'm designing the graphics myself, I can probably play around with that, make that look right, maybe put in some silver instead of some white and that sort of thing. But yeah, for the most part, all the yellow will, well, not for the most part, it absolutely will be all gone. Cage will be getting changed. Take that sticker off. The seats are just black OMP seats that I've got out of the other one. So this is what we're working on, just going off their recommendations. I believe there's some actual ride height adjustments to work on. I'll probably put the coils in. I'll have to do that later because that will depend on how much weight and when I've got it all at full weight. So once I've got it full weight, I'll do those measurements then. So this is what we're working with here. Get that set, get the coils on, and then we'll be able to put all the arms in and get it on the ground again. So I've got the coils on there now. The crossover rings are set. The spring seat height is set. Got a collection of different C-spanners here because there's so many different types and they're all different ones. Anyway, just all I've got it here. A quick tip. I mean, everyone knows how to crack these things. There's probably plenty of videos on that sort of stuff. Another thing that I have read about though is something called clocking the spring. Now I have to put this on the spring compressor after, but the general idea is this little slot here, you don't want that where the spring ends. So usually you'll rotate that 180 degrees. So I believe that's what they call clocking the springs. I've seen it a couple of times when you've got your thing there and the coil wants to dig into the edge here and it doesn't sit right on anything. So just another bit of a tip that I've found out and pass on, but I'll bang that back in the spring compressor, clamp that up, slot that in, and then keep going with the other ones. There you go, coils are all mounted, fitted I should say. Got to work on the rear next, but the front's all done. Just got a few more things to plug in and run some brake lines and that sort of stuff to tidy them up. But it's all starting to come together. Looks much better in black. Then next I can probably get it back on the ground on them rollers. The ugly things down there. Then we can take that cage off and get ready to take it up to Ben, help him weld up the cage. Okay, so it probably skipped forward a bit. All I did basically, it's on the ground now as you can see on these ugly looking rollers. I bolted all the arms in and all that sort of stuff. Don't need to show that too much. It's pretty boring stuff and pretty straightforward, just putting a bit of a jigsaw puzzle back together that got left behind when I took it all out. But the other thing you can notice is the cage is now off. So this will probably wrap up this episode, and then next week I'll get it up to Ben's. I've got some bits ready, like I've mounted the plates there and trimmed some plastic and that sort of stuff. A few annoying things that will be easier to just do here, get it ready. Hopefully then we can just cage on, weld it up, job done, bring it back. Then I can do all the sort of finishing touches, paint it, all that sort of thing. This style of content is easier for me to get things done. I haven't gone into super detail on some things. I'm just trying to do tips and bits on what I'm doing as I do it. It's been much easier to get this done and get progress done and not muck around. It doesn't sort of hold me up. If there is anything that you want me to go into more detail with, hit us up, drop a comment, whatever it is. Get in touch, I can go into more detail. Stuff like the captive nut, that sort of stuff. If you wanted more details on that, could have done a how-to, but time consuming to get to this point in not very long with the arms all gusseted up and springs in and that sort of stuff. I'm happy with the progress so far. Obviously I've got deadlines of races that I want to make it to, but I don't want to rush it, and also I don't want to waste time showing things that people might not care about. So it's one of those things, but yeah, this is where we're at. Stay tuned for the next updates, which is most likely up doing the cage.